Welcome to the Model Rail Replacement Podcast, helping you get to your onward journey. A friendly service that helps you get from A to B, or probably nowhere at all.
Hello, and welcome to the Model Rail Replacement Podcast, or as we like to call it, MERP. I'm your host, James, and with me is co-host and producer.
Sam. Good morning, everyone.
Hello, Sam. You know what? I listened back to last week's episode, and it sounded like you said Dan. And I was like, "Who's Dan?"
Do you know what's weird? Like there's this weird thing where I think I have a really simple name, yet whenever you go somewhere where they ask your name for something, 9 times out of 10, they still get it wrong. I To this day, a constantly remembered thing is that apparently I gave my name as Stan for a pizza years and years ago, and it's still brought up in our family. So it's completely useless to model railways. But you know what? If you want to misspell my name on a cup or a form, then by all means do it. Stan, Dan, whatever you want.
Dan. There you go. Stan, how are you?
I can't even give you a different name because it's just James.
That's
Yeah, I'm
the,
all right.
that's the only advantage. It's the problem with the one-syllable name, but the advantage of James is it doesn't really sound like anything else. It does have that advantage. Um, I always prefer a name with two syllables. It sounds more impressive. I feel, you know. But
Okay, I've got one for you. You ready? I'm
go
good,
on.
Jim Bob. How are you?
Jim Bob, yes, I've been called Jim Bob. Yeah, Jim Bob, Jimsy, Jim. All that one doesn't get used anymore for obvious reasons.
Yep.
Jamie, people call me Jamie. People call me. You got the bleep button ready?
Don't do the bleep button. I hate the bleep button because it actually adds so much more work, me having to bleep stuff out.
And Jim.
Yeah, I've called you Jimmy a few times.
Yeah, Jim and Jimmy. Jim and Jimmy are the most common one. Jim, Jimmy, and Jamie. Usually what I get called. Don't usually get called James. It's apart from my parents. But there we are. Well, my daughter calls me James Bond, which I'm quite happy to go along with. So, yeah.
An odd one, but good for her.
James Bond. So, anyway, that's enough about the family. Let's talk about model railways. Have you been up to anything? How's that 009 layout going? Have you taken down the OO gauge and replaced it yet?
No, not yet. I don't think I could ever bring myself to go that far with it. Although now that I've said that, I think I'd get a considerable amount of my loft back if I decided to switch to just 009 gauge. Um,
That's how I look at my garage, you see, because obviously I've got a very large Lego Star Wars collection that currently has nowhere to be displayed. And I do think if I just had a 009, it'd only take up half the garage, and then the other half I could put all my Lego out. But
Here's
we'll
the
have
big thing: if we went to just 009, we wouldn't have anywhere near as many exciting announcements that we could follow along with because we know that 9 times out of 10, the announcements won't be 009 gauge or anything along that line. So we're just sort of like, stuff. So
yeah, it wouldn't be a very productive podcast, I think, if we just focused on 009. It's but that's just a podcast. I mean, what we do in our own time is up to us. It's our
it's very
layout.
true. I
Yeah.
have ballasted the track actually, which is a weird thing. Simply because you'd think that ballasting 009 track would be the same as ballasting 00 track. I'd say it's considerably harder. um, I used to do it where you run your thumb or your finger along the rails to try and get
Mhm.
the excess off the top. The 009 doesn't like that. So um,
It's all about the tamping, I find. I think if you just get like a ruler or something and you just tap it along the top of the rails, that's the best way to get the stones to fall into place, which is exactly how they do it on the real railway. It's a bit of tamping and sort of yeah, I find that's the best method with
oh,
009.
okay, well, I'll
I don't
take that
like
in
the stones on the
consideration.
sleepers. That annoys me. It's just, but trying to clean them all off the sleepers is painstaking. So.
Yeah. I get that. I really do. But yeah, it's good. It's painted at the moment, so we've got ballast and it's been painted. As we're filming this, the third episode of my 009 series came out this morning. Give you a little clue of where we are. Um, and I really need to get that fourth video finished. But now that I've done the ballasting, I think we're at a point where I can finish that video and then move on to the next section. So yeah, how about you? Have you been up to much hobby?
I have finished my Pico engine shed from the 009 laser cut kit, and it's not too bad a kit. There was a few little comments, and I've done a video on it, which will eventually appear on YouTube, where I think it could just do with a slight improvement to make building it a little bit easier. But apart from that, I think it's a great little kit. It's come out really nice. I'm quite pleased with it. And then I've also been painting up the signal box for the layout, which I got from Bungles Kelly Station, which is their ground level or platform level signal box. So that is almost complete. Just needs a little bit more weathering, just a bit rust on the down pipe, etc., and a light inside, and that's ready to go on the layout as well. But the important thing was getting the shed done, so that means I can then lay the track on the baseboard because I sort of ground to a halt, which is kind of annoying because I went out very impatiently and bought all the points I needed to build the layout because I couldn't wait for the 009 Society second-hand shop to open again on the 6th of January, even though I would have got the points for half the price. And now we're well into January, and I was like, I should have just waited, really. But there we go. That's my impatience. It's cost me money. So, yeah,
Okay, that makes sense.
there we are. Yeah. Right then. Obviously, last week was a big news week because it was the Hornby announcement. So we've got a guest that we're talking to today, which he gets mentioned quite a lot on the show. It's Lyndon from, you may remember him as one of our contestants on the big overweight, whatever the quiz it was. I can't remember the title of it. Anyway, our Christmas quiz. He's back to talk about all things model railways, and that's a little bit later. But yeah, now it's news time, and it's mostly Hornby Railway related. So let's talk about the Hornby Railways announcements.
Excellent. Where would you like to start?
Let's start traditionally with the train sets.
Yeah. Do you want to? We've talked before this. Do you want to say what our big thing about the Hornby announcement this year is? Like, because I think you and I both walked away with it quite positively compared to last year.
It's I think, and I think their approach to the railroad range and the cheaper models is a really positive outcome from Hornby to see that they've thought about getting models into the hands of people that can't afford these really nice expensive ones, and those that could break those really nice expensive ones and just need something a little bit more robust. And so a very welcome additions to the range from Hornby, which includes some of their train set stuff. So we start off with that one. They've got this Freight Runner train set. I think it's one of the first ones that have been announced. And anyone who watched Hornby Model World would have seen that this train set was being designed at the time. I think they were looking at producing it in India, if I recall, moving away from Chinese manufacturing in a hope of having lower prices. And so it's with Hornby a recommended retail price of £79.99, but if you look around for retail discount, you could pick it up for £71.99, and it comes with a B4 locomotive in, I assume, in a fictional blue livery, an open coal wagon, and a closed van. And yeah, I think it's and new coupling styles as well. Which I'm not sure how it's going to work with older models, because obviously if you're picking up second-hand models to work with these, I don't know if they're going to go together. I don't know if they've got anything interchangeable. I haven't seen anything on there. I don't know if you know about that.
No, I think the biggest thing is it's really intriguing that they've done what looks like a new coupling system, but it's not been mentioned or talked about. And I think one thing that surprises me across the whole range is there are some models that have this new coupling system. There's some models that have NEM pockets, which is the quote unquote industry standard. But then there's also some models that are pictured with the old D-Link style couplings that are big and chunky, so they can't even be taken off and replaced with something a bit smaller or streamlined. And for me, that's the one thing that I wish that they had spoken more about. I watched it live where the audio completely cut out and you didn't know what anything was talking about. And I haven't had a chance to go back and listen to it with the audio. But from what nobody has talked about this new style of couplings. And looking at it, it looks like a magnetic system, and I think that's a great step forward, especially when it comes to the idea of bringing younger blood or new people into the hobby using this magnetic system straight from the off.
Yes, definitely. It's yeah. As I say, my only concern is if there isn't something that allows you to couple up older models to these models, that might be a bit off-putting.
Yes.
Because as you say, younger hands and new entrants to the hobby are probably more than likely going to start looking at second-hand stuff to start building up a collection fast.
Mm.
That's obviously going to be the best way to do it. And if you can't couple them up, that's going to prove frustrating, isn't it? But I don't know. Maybe Hornby have got it covered. But like you say, I haven't seen them mention anything. So we'll just have to wait and see in that one, see what they come up with.
Which is a shame because it's such a big thing in it as well. And I think that's I haven't watched the Q&A or anything like that where it was talked about. So maybe that's something
Yeah,
life
maybe,
has been
yeah,
busy.
no, I haven't had a chance to watch their live Q&A. Maybe it did get brought up on there, and if it had, apologies to Hornby, if you've covered this already. But you know our email address if you want to keep us in the loop about things, so we can tell the world about your products. It's we are. How many listeners have we hit now? Listens have we hit now? What did you send it to me the other day?
25,000 listens we've had so far.
So there we go. People are listening to us, so don't ignore us.
Basically, for all of the stuff that we usually throw slander towards Hornby, I think overall, I came out of this announcement feeling pretty confident and content. It's always nice if you see something that you go, I want to buy that. And there's always that juggling thing of there being too much that you don't know what to spend your money on, or there being nothing and you being like, oh, I haven't got anything to look forward to. So I came out of it quite, there is something that if I wanted to, I could purchase, but I don't feel I'm going to miss out if I don't get it.
Yeah,
Whilst there also being some
I
cool
think it was
things.
quite well balanced, and it's sort of what I've said before. It's nice that Cure Scout at the 66 tooling off Hattons, and they up the game on it and produce this great model. But when they announce 8 liveries and you go, oh, I want all 8, you're like, that's going to be very expensive. I wish these things were staggered so I could afford it a bit easier. But it's just obviously they have manufacturing windows and ways that things have to be done. And sometimes you just have to compromise and make the sacrifice. So is what it is, I suppose. But shall we carry on with the Hornby announcements?
Yes.
Excellent stuff. So this one I was very excited about, the Linear Azuma high speed set, and this is brand new tooling. So they've done basically another Azuma, but it's essentially railroad range. Less detail, but it still has functioning lights. I believe it's the same mechanism inside, so the same as the high spec model. It's just that I think the detail has been molded on rather than little extra parts added on. When it's whizzing around the track, who's going to know? I looked at it and I thought, you know what, I'd probably buy one of them, and it wouldn't look too far off from the 800s that I do own. So yeah, very exciting stuff. It comes with the two, I say power car ends. They're all it's technically a DMU, but the nose end cars and one center car, and then there's additional cars that you can add on further down the line. So yeah, the LNR Zuma's high speed set. Hornby's got a recommended retail price of 17999, or if you look around for your retailer discount, you could find it at 16199. What do you think of this one, Sam?
We always scream and say about how it sucks a little bit that the stuff that we want in train form is the stuff that we saw running around when we were younger. And for me especially, there's never been an EMU train set. This is perfect for people who really want an Azuma, and I guess this is something that's been around, like where they had like Voyager train sets and the HST train sets, because they were still running around for certain parts of the country. But I think this is a brand new step into the fact that we've got a train set that is going to be running around with something that is new, something that is iconic on the rails right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's always really difficult to look at how detailed these things are in comparison to the real life thing. But you know what? This is the kind of thing where I could even turn around and go, For less than 200 quid for an Azuma train set, I'd be quite interested in that. And I think it's definitely a step in the right direction to not only for the people who have smaller pockets to be able to purchase something that's not as detailed but still does the job, but also for people getting into the hobby. Oh, that's a train I've seen going around. Oh, I want to get that as a train set. It allows people to do that now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the price is really good. And if I recall, the additional carriages are around £35. So, um, and I think that might be Hornby's price. So they may be just a little bit cheaper. So, but if you're just saying 70 quid on top of this, 160 price tag, then you're looking at about 230 to 30 to £35. Um, which is still considerably less than a five-car super detail model. So this is really opening up modern image modeling to um, a more affordable market, and this is one of the best things I of the announcements that Hornby have done, in my opinion. I think it's great, and like you say, the market needed that train set to attract the younger audience that want to model what they see on the railway today.
Mm.
So yeah, I think this is brilliant. If I was to recommend anything else to Hornby to go along with it, I'd say do a Class 66 train set with a couple of wagons, like you would see out in the like those nice. We'll talk about those wagons later on in the announcement, but the GBRF wagons or those Network Rail style wagons that they'd use the old NEMA tooling for, a train set with three of them at 66, that would be perfect as well. And then I think you've got a great start for the modern image modeler to get into the hobby at affordable price. So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, excellent. I think that one's excellent. Then high speed trains continuing. We've got the BR high speed inspired by R685 train set. So this is based on the 1977 Hornby Railways train set. But on the plus side, it's a proper length Mark III coach rather than an old school Hornby shorty. And I think these are a limited edition set, if I recall from watching over the video. But yeah, it's BR Blue HST power cars. They look great. And it's obviously just designed to get the nostalgia of those that used to follow the hobby maybe a long time ago and try and encourage them to come back into it. So I think that one's a great one as well.
I think
169.99 with 152.99 on your discount.
I think that is one of the best things. So if you're comparing the Azuma, the modern day one, the BR yellow and blue, it is iconic. And I think what you get for your money. So in both of those train sets, you are getting an oval of track, a controller, and all these things. And actually, they're listed as 21 pin DCC. So they've got to be some form of. I don't want to use the term Gucci but they must be better than the old, especially the HST. They must be better than the old ones because even the most recent railroad ones that came out were still 8-pin DCC. So they've done something to make this a 21-pin DCC, and it even has NEM pockets, which I think is a really, really big thing for any modern day stuff that comes out.
Yeah, I think the coaches are the old Lima tooling, I believe, which may have been modified several times. I think through Hornby's process. I was never sure if they carried on using Lima tooling or if they eventually did replace them with their own Hornby tooling. But these are the Lima ones, I understand, and I think the power cars have always been the old. So ironically, it's like a reminiscent Hornby Railways train set, but it's actually Lima tooling in there, and we're getting a Lima HST train set at one Christmas. Um, and it was great, very exciting. Very exciting stuff. So yeah, do you know what? Do you know what I'd love if they did just take the Lima packaging and just produce a Lima train set. I don't know if they can or not because I think Lima models carried on, but I don't know. I'm not quite sure how it worked there. Anyway, rambling on. The other reminiscing train set is the Triang RS9 Intercity Express train set, which comes with a BR Green Class 37 and three Pullman carriages. This is a recommended retail price of 17999, but retailer discount could probably find you at 16199. In fact, I think if you join Hornby, I think Hornby have a scheme where you can get 10% off their actual shop as well. So you could probably just look around and depending where you get it from, you could probably get it for 16199. Anyway, I think this is again a great train set. It's very, iconic box art that they've used. Which I mean, I never grew up and saw it and got excited about it, but I remember seeing these sort of style of train sets at toy fairs all over the place when I was growing up. So it's sort of still, a bit of nostalgia there for it, and I think it's a great combo of a 37 with Pullman cars. Probably a train that never ran, but do you know what? That looked great going around the layout, wouldn't it?
Yeah. My only thing with the pictures of this is the first instance that I'm going to say that I feel like, because it's listed as 21 pin DCC as well, so they've obviously done something to increase the capabilities of it. The couplings on it, in the pictures of all of the rolling stock and the loco, it looks like it is the old D-Link style couplings, which is the only shame I'd say about it. But once again, a good entry price. It's an interesting one with Pullman coaches and the green diesel, and I love the box art on it. That is proper old school nostalgia box art on that one as well.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what I think would be a great product? And maybe it's, someone at West Hill Wagon Works maybe heard of it. It's just a replacement bogie for those Pullman coaches, with the ability to put an M pocket, because you could just swap the wheels out and just buy
Mm,
the bogie and swap the bogies around, and then you could, solve that problem.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's the thing I find the hardest is that there are plenty of bogies out there that do have the NEM pockets built into them. Um, and it just feels like that should be something that is coming as standard. And I know somebody complained at me last year when we spoke about this that, oh, well, the big D links are there for those who have a tight space and a smaller train set and stuff like that. But my argument is that it should be a case of that should be an option of which style of coupling that you have. And some of the Hornby stuff does have that. But I just feel that in this day and age, having only the option of the giant D-Link coupling, so it goes back to that magnetic thing as well, is it should be NEM as standard with the option of changing it to magnetic, giant D-Link, the small D-Link that they did and stuff like that as well.
yes, yeah, yeah. Interchangeable components that suit your layout would probably be a bit more useful. But
Yeah,
there we are. It's probably just down to tooling costs, isn't it? And again, it's I think in that one you could probably just let them off, because it's more it is more triang to have those giant couplings on it than something a bit more modern day. So
it is, but why do it on the HST but not that one?
what they've done on the HST?
So the HST is NEM pockets, which is a new feature that they've added because the previous HST train sets have all been big D links,
Uh,
or at least that Airfix clip hook system.
oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Who knows? Who
yeah.
knows?
I could be wrong. The pictures could be fooling us, and I'd love to be wrong on it. I think that NEM pockets should definitely be the standard, and then we can sort of have the option of which ones we want to go on there, and then that makes it so that, like you said about with the magnetic stuff, you want it to be able to go between any rolling stock. You want to be able to mix and match rather than be stuck with giant D links or just magnetic and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe so. But yeah, I suppose it's just that to keep the price down, isn't it? And if you want those changes, then you just have to go out and sort it yourself, I suppose.
Yeah,
Shall we move on to the next one, which is I think the final train set announced for 2025. You were quite excited about this one, weren't you?
I really like this one. So don't get me wrong, I don't think the livery is everyone's cup of tea. And I do think if you have the ability to repaint it, or you're looking for something to repaint to test your metal, I think this is definitely one to go for. What is it, James?
Well, it's the Santa's Express rechargeable battery operated train set. With a recommended retail price of £39.99, or with the discount £35.99. So, I mean, that is a very good price for a little train set to put around your Christmas tree.
I
Yeah,
think,
it's a very bold livery, but then it is Christmas.
yeah,
So,
I think, and I spoke to you about this before we started recording. I think one of the best parts about this is that it play trains. The idea behind it being that it was battery operated and it could run on double O gauge track was good, but it didn't look like a real train, if that made sense. You could tell it was almost like that cartoonish train. It would be like putting The Simpsons next to an anime sort of thing. You could tell the difference between the two. This, I feel, has that ability where you could have it on your layout. Obviously, the livery is the thing that's going to really stop it here, as well as some of the other bits. But it's the rechargeable USB-C rather than physical batteries in it. And I think if you bought this train set and repainted it all, or even put like a 3D printed chassis or something like that, I think you could really do some wonders with having one of these. If you had a little one who was interested in having a go on your train set and you don't want them to have a play with your 100, 200, 300 pound locos, this is a really good way for them to sort of get to see their thing running around. And for £36, I think that is great.
Yes. I mean, bear in mind, it is just a battery operated loco and it's just a plastic molded track, which I think is quite similar to the Play Trains range. But yeah, yeah, you just want a little train going around the tree. It's a great little thing, and you never know what it may inspire and may start getting someone into the hobby. So, right then, should we move on to the steam locomotives? There's quite a few to get through here. So,
Do you want to go at this as a sort of pick out some of the best ones, or because I mean, there's a lot. Is one thing compared to last year. Hornby's announced a lot this year, not necessarily all new tooling or anything like that, but they've announced a lot.
yeah, it's quite a bit. So, yeah, starting off, they're celebrating the 200th railway anniversary, as it is this year is 200 years since the Stockton and Darlington first carried passengers powered by a steam locomotive. So they have released appropriately locomotion. So that's going to be available at 18499 or 16649 with a discount. I don't think it's any different to the ones they've just released, apart from maybe a few nameplate details, etc. It looks like an absolutely stunning model, this locomotion model, but definitely a fragile looking thing as well. But yeah, I think it's very nice. It's coming in a train pack as well, isn't it? With Rocket and Lion. That will
Yes.
also be released as for the 200th anniversary, so that will also be coming along as well. Tooling wise, I think they've improved the Saint. Possibly it came under the Design Clever tooling, but I believe this is brand new tooling for GWR modelers, and the Saint class is making a return to the Hornby range with two locomotives. And the first one is Lady of Legend, number 2999. This locomotive is a modern era locomotive because it was built in preservation, lives on the Didcot Railway Centre, and is available with the retailer discount at £211.49. Or if you want something a little bit more period free, then you've got Lord Palmer, number 2975, also available for me. Both of them in Great Western liveries with the Great Western crest between Great Western written on the tender. I think, yeah, it's that's a nice model for GWR fans out there. You're going to be happy with that one.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think so. And it's compared to some of the other locos that have come out in the last few years, it's not the worst pricing, especially for a new tooled model. I thought it wasn't terrible. That's the sort of pricing that we're expecting nowadays.
yes, it's yeah, it's all very yeah. The price wise, there's some nice prices here and some interesting prices. I think we'll talk about it a little bit later as we go through these locos because it's curious. But maybe we're seeing an emerging change coming from Hornby. Who knows? Right, following that, then we have a Caprotti valved Black 5, number 44748, retailer discount of £224.99. Obviously, this is the brand new Black 5 tooling that Hornby previously announced, and it's just a few more variants. So, yeah, the Caprotti valve gear will be a nice addition to the collection. The ever popular BR Standard 2 MT is coming out in another livery. 215.99. This one is in BR Early Crest Black, number 78019. Black Fives again with LMS livery, number 5047, again 22499. We've got a Thompson A2-3, which that's making a return to the range, isn't it? So that's for the northeastern modelers there. This one is Watlington Street, number 60521. That's 251.99. That's probably the higher end for the steam engine prices.
Yeah.
Although the highest end, I think, so far is the next one, which is the early Thompson A22. This is the rebuilt P2 locomotive, Cock of the North, number 60501. And this one is coming with a steam generator. So, yeah, Hornby have continued with the steam generator. So you're looking at £328.49 with a 10% discount on that. Yeah, I think we mentioned the steam generators last week. Mixed reviews from people, but I think it's a great little feature, and it's nice to see it's expanding in the range.
I think what's interesting about the steam generator stuff as well is that you are getting a sound decoder as well. So all of the steam generator stuff comes fitted with the HM7000. Which what's weird about this one is it's not listed as a 21 pin loco, but it is a 21 pin loco with the HM7000 as well as the steam generator on there. So obviously take that into consideration when you do look at the price. But yeah, you are right. I think that is definitely the higher end of the locos.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, you're getting literally bells and whistles with that one, aren't you? So
Yeah.
Following that, then the Hornby tooling of the BR Class 9F is making a return to the range. Again, this is their new tooling. I picked one up over Christmas. I think previously mentioned I picked up their model of Black Prince, and it's compared to the Bachmann model, there's definitely some lovely new features, sort of upgrading the 9F. So it's nice to see that one making a return. I particularly like the firebox that lights up, and the fact that the tender is a lot closer to the cab. So there's definitely a few improvements on there if you're looking to get a 9F. This one 92018 single chimney BR black early crest at 251.99 on the retailer discount. Hornby Double O continues to produce. They're lovely die-cast models. And again, bear in mind this is a sort of unique style of model, so it is going to hit a higher price point. This one is £314.99 with the discount, and it is Princess Coronation Class Duchess of Buccleuch. Becky,
Buccleuch.
apologies. I don't know how to pronounce that. Buccleuch. Pronounce it however you want. I have no idea. Buck Kettle. I'll give up. Anyway, number 46230. Yeah, I'm
Buckles
not
Kelly.
sure.
It's Buckles Kelly.
Buckles Kelly. That's it. Duchess of Buckles Kelly. Look at that. So yeah, it's BR Green Early Crest. And yeah, as I say, it's Hornby Double O, so becoming the presentation box, and yeah, the die-cast moldings. Following that, we have the BR Merchant Navy class back, making return in the ever popular BR Blue with early crest. This one is number 35013. Funnel Cetrum Petit Finem, I think, is the name.
So I initially, when
Oh
I
yeah,
saw this pop up, I read this as Crumpet Pete.
Trumpet Pete. There we go. It is Pete, isn't it? Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, they've gone for some very unusual names this year. However, I think the livery will just make it sell like hotcakes. I think the last time they did blue, it sold out very quickly. So that
this
is
is
200.
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's always I think the blue really does suit the unrebuilt or original Merchant Navy with the air smooth casing. Yeah, it looks quite stunning. £215.99 with 10% discount. GWR fans can have another locomotive to their collection with a castle. This is a Lockheed Hudson, and it's number 5081 with a price point of £206.99 with a 10% discount. LNER get another streamlined B17. In fact, it would be the other B17, I'm assuming, because this one is City of London. Number 2870 in LNER green. There was only ever two of them, I think, that ever got the streamlining. Made absolutely no difference to their performance. It just made them look like A4s. Probably because the A4s weren't allowed on the eastern region around Anglia because they were too heavy for the bridges. So there we are, 247.49 with 10% discount. One of my highlights, I think, of the Steam range, just because of its gorgeous livery, is the Great Eastern Railway J15, number 564. Coming in at 125.99 10% discount, which I think is a fantastic price for a tender locomotive. When did you see a brand new tender locomotive at that price?
Yeah, agreed. And so when I was on Instagram doing a live, or an Instagram live, that's probably the right term for it, when this came up. And for some reason, the way it was done on the Hornby video, the purple was so bright. And a couple of people were chatting about it, and we were trying to work out where we were trying to work out what kind of purple you'd associate it to. And I think the best way that somebody explained it is Joker purple, as in Joker from the Batman.
So it should be ultramarine blue, I believe, is the correct color term. But Joker purple is, I suppose, if you want to be a Philistine.
But it is beautiful, and especially I know James and I are looking at the same list, and two locomotives after this. If you compare the two and their pricing, this seems insane.
Yes, in fact, the next collection of locos we're about to talk to, this got a little curious about pricing points. And again, we mentioned it earlier, and I don't know. Maybe Hornby have started moving production to somewhere else that's cheaper, and some of this tooling has been moved, and thus the lower price point. I'm not sure, but it is very curious. So yes, as I say, it's 125.99 with a 10% discount for a GER J15, which I think is a great shout by Hornby, because with the Curious Scales J69 on the way, if you're looking at picking that one up in the Great Eastern Railway Blue, it's going to make a nice little collection for anyone that wants to do period 2 Great Eastern modelling. Although this one is described as era 11, so I assume it's been modelled as the preserved sample on the North Norfolk Railway. I think that's where it is at the moment. But yeah, it'll be fine if you want to do period 2, I'm sure. The other J15 to the collection is number 65465 in early British Railways, with British Railways lettering on the tender. So this is probably something around 1950-ish. If you're sort of modelling that era, it says era 4. And again, it's 125.99 with the discount. Following that is the Manchester Ship Canal Peckett W4. Pecketts are always very popular in the Hornby range, but this is where it gets more curious. So it's in a very lovely green livery called Jaffa. It's also 125.99, so it's the same price as a tender locomotive that Hornby are offering, and this is when the mystery sort of starts to open up, because we move on to the next two locos, which is an offering of the Southern Region T9s, one available in Southern Region livery 302 on the tender, and the other one in BR Early Crest Black, number 30338. They are a 206.99 with 10% discount. And then following that is the Southern Region S15 locomotive, which is a larger locomotive to the T9, number 836. Now, I'm not sure, but, it looks more complicated to put together as well, considering that the T9 is a 440 wheel configuration with just the coupled wheels, just a single rod between them. So you look at the S15 and it's it's a 460 combination with much more complex coupling rods on the side of it. You'd imagine it's going to take a lot more effort in manufacturing process, and yet it is only £130.49 with your 10% discount. And that's what absolutely baffles me. That's £5 more than a Peckett. Do you know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
even £5. £4.50. £4.50 difference, and you can have a large steam locomotive for freight work, or you can have a little tiny tank engine. Now, I appreciate the Peckett is got lots of little bits of detail on it and that, but this is where my mind started to wonder. I was like, well, why are the prices so different? The T9 compared to the S15, and then let's say the Peckett and the J15. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going. And more curiously, when you start looking at some of the prices of when we get to some of the railroad locomotives that were announced, cost more than these 6 locos. Oh, well, no, excluding the T9. Sorry, apologies. The 4 locos. So yeah, it's very curious. And it's got me wondering what's going on here with prices, because as I say, there's various differences in what is available. As I say, you can get a S15 for £4.50 more than a Peckett, and I appreciate the Peckett probably has a little bit more details maybe to do it, and maybe the livery application. But these locos are considerably less than the T9. And then when we look on later, I think some of the railroad locos are actually more than these main range locos. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe Hornby have started. I don't know. Maybe they've found cheaper manufacturing processes that are bringing the price down, which is very welcome indeed. But yeah, it's curious to say the least. Well, let's carry on because obviously there's a lot in the range to get through, and we've got a long interview with Lyndon as well, so it could be a very long episode. Double O range then. We'll try and get through this as quick as we can. Double O range, LNER Class A4 Dominion of New Zealand. Looks absolutely splendid. Again, you're going to be paying that high price point for that double O tooling with die cast bodywork, but £314.99 with a 10% discount. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Very tempting indeed. Look very nice with those coronation coaches that they've just released as well. So,
Yeah.
you've got a bit of cash to splash, go for it, I'd say. Next, we're coming on to diesels. So we've got the Ruston Hornsby. This one is WMGEA branding #1 in a sort of Brunswick green livery, £112.49. With everything's 10% discount. Let's just make it a lot easier just to say everything I'm reading off is with a 10% discount. So, if you find it a bit higher, it's probably because it's more close to the recommended retail price. Following that, I'm sure will be a welcome return for many modern image modelers. It's the Midland Pullman HST pack. This one, the power cars have the yellow warning panel that they wore for around 6 months due to some paperwork issues that meant that they couldn't run with just the headlights to identify the train out on track. So they just needed the yellow warning panels to make the train visible to anyone working on the trackside. So, yeah, if you missed out on these power cars first time round, they are available again. Obviously, you just have to put up with that yellow panel on the front of it. I thought it spoiled the look personally of the power cars, but maybe some people like it. And also, there's always the opportunity to paint over it. I suppose if you can get the matching naking or narking blue, however you pronounce that. Anyway, 355.49. Following that, the Class 91 makes a return to the range. I was surprised not to see the new LNER livery. I really thought that would come along. It's been a couple of years now since LNER changed liveries, but it was not to be. Instead, we have Class 91, so Henry Royce, number 91031 in Intercity Swallow, looking absolutely splendid in that livery. All of these locos are £220.49 with a discount. It's following that is another great Northern Eastern Railway GNER 91. This one is probably to a little bit of honour in 80 years of the Railway Series books, and it's number 291124, Reverend W. Wardry. So any Thomas collectors out there, that might be one you might want to add to your collection. And then following that, number 191130, Mayor of Newcastle in LNER, ex-Virgin Trains swoosh, red and white livery. So yeah, the 91 makes a return to the range. Bizarrely, the way we're going through this, we're jumping straight back into steam engines.
We've gone through this on a particular. We talked about what the best way to go through this list was, and James said, you know what, we'll put it in the sort of the featured order that they've put it in. And some of it makes loads of sense, and then other parts of it doesn't. But I think it's because we're now going to railroad. I think that's
we're going to railroad. Yes, that's it. I've just had a little scroll through, and I was like, it makes more sense. It is railroad, and I think this year Hornby have really, really hit it out of the park with railroad. I think it's a range that was a great idea when it was first conceived. I think it ran away with itself in price increases that made it kind of seem a bit daft when you were comparing it to the main range. But it looks like they've started to rein it back in and go back to its original principles. Just from what I'm seeing from what's been announced this year. So I think this is great. So first up is the Railroad SR Class B4. This was already we've just spoke about it. It was in the train set as in a blue livery. You can get it on its own as Normandy, which is an actual locomotive, at £35.99. And let's be honest, that's a great price for a little 040 loco these days. Brand new tooling as well. So, there's no complaints that they're reusing tooling that's been around since 1985. So yeah, no, that's there's that one. And then if you don't want to do Southern Region, you feel a bit more industrial, there's Shepway Steelworks Green, number 9. as an alternative. So a nice return to the range is the Hornby Class 58. I think it's been a while since 58's been in the range, and they have brought them back with a BR rail freight large grey logo and mainline blue, which obviously I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that's probably the running number of the one that's been brought back into preservation. So that's a nice addition there.
This is out of all the things, this is the one I'm really hoping that the pictures aren't doing it justice, because I really like the 58s. I like the 58s, the 56, and I think Rail Freight Red Stripe is one of my favourite liveries. And looking at the price of this, my only hope is that it's the couplings that will be the decider on this one for me, because I have no doubt there's no way they could have kept that old tooling on the old version of this that they had. So I'm really hoping we get a bit more in-depth look at this particular loco. I'd love to see what they've done with it, and are the couplings. I think couplings is the biggest theme for me in this year, but this is probably one I'm like, if I was going to plump for a new loco, this is possibly one I'd go for.
Yeah, you're not letting that go, are you? What is it with you and couplings? No, unfortunately, I've checked the Hornby website. It is the large D-link couplings, I'm afraid. Nice to see in the railroad range that the 66s have been downgraded to have the railroad label, which I think makes a lot more sense, as it is a budget loco 66 compared to Bachmann and Hatton's. And offering that is two liveries. They come in a choice of either plain DC or TTXS fitted. So we've got the aggregates livery class 66711 and then GBRF 66723 Chinook 85.49 without the sound, or 134.99 with the sound, adding your discount. The Hornby class 08 makes a return to the range. This is 08512. It's a very old triangle style tooling. It kind of looks like an 08, but when you start looking a bit more closely, it doesn't look like an 08 at all. But it's a good start, and it's 53.99, which I think compared to what is going to be offered out there by other manufacturers, it's a great little model to go for. Also, a sound fitted option at 103.49. Following that is the Class 73, which is, I think, the old Lima tooling, was always a great model when it came out as a Lima model. And I, don't think there's too many complaints about it. Coming in at £80.99 in large logo BR blue. It's 73.132. Following that is GBRF's Network Southeast Heritage livery, number 73128, the Kent and East Sussex Railways for 50 years. And this one is DCC Sound, £130.49. Then we have the Railroad BR Late B17 Darlington, £130.49. This is when I start to get a bit more curious, because these are railroad models that are supposedly less detailed, a bit more robust, etc. And we're starting to hit price points that are higher than main range locomotives, as we spoke about with the J15s, S15, etc. So it gets a bit more curious. The LMS Patriots, Robert Turnbull, number 5540, 134.99. So yeah, I mean, make your choice of what you want, really, I suppose. But I'm not. It's a bit confusing. But then we jump to the Deltic that they're offering, Class 55, the King's Own Yorkshire Light Infantry, number 55002. It's 67.49. I think that's an absolutely great price for a diesel locomotive. A Deltic, £67.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of our highlights, I think, there of the range. Also sound fitted at 116.99. Then we move on to train packs, and we have first of all, celebrating Rail 200. It's a Southeastern Class 395. There will be additional coaches to go with this. The livery has not yet been revealed. All we know is it is 395015, and it's 269.99. The Avanti Coast Class 805, the latest of the IET range to reach the mainline rails, now comes in the Hornby range. It's £494.99, and it's a 5-car set in the Avanti livery. Moving on, and we have the Pendolino making a return in Avanti West Coast. I think it's like a sort of I can't remember what they call delivery. Basically, it's like a look after the planet livery. I can't remember what it is. but it's one of the special liveries. Anyway, it's number 390121. That's 305.99. Previously mentioned, it's the Birth of the Railway 200th anniversary train pack set featuring Locomotion, Rocket, and Lion, 359.99. The Flirt 4-car livery train pack arrives with us at 404.99. This one, I'm sure Sam will be very excited about, is the BR Class 423 for VEPs, and they have come back into the Hornby range. This is the improved tooling. At 359.99, there's a BR Blue, or I'm sure Sam's got this one on pre-order already, Network Southeast.
Yes, I do. I don't even have to. Out of everything, this was the thing that I went, I'd love two, but I've pre-ordered one in hopes that I've got one if it then goes. But I do like having 8-car units and stuff like that. So I could put it with my 40C, or I could also get another one so that it matches the same blue. My favorite thing. Sorry.
There's options.
And I also think what's great about this is, for those who don't know with Network Southeast, there were 2 versions of the blue. This one is in the earlier blue, the always gets referred to as the blue that faded too quickly. And I love that blue. I think it is a gorgeous blue. And I sometimes think the second blue is a little bit too dark. This looks gorgeous in this blue. This is my favorite. If I have NSE stock, this type of blue is what I'm after. I really loved the Southwest Trains 423s. So this is my pre-order purchase. This is the one I'd say go for.
Yes, it doesn't surprise me at all. Right then, Railroad jumps straight back into train packs because everything is in a very confusing order, and it's the LNER Class 800 train pack of 800201. It's just what we'll call 2 power cars, or the driver end cars, 134.99 with the option of adding coaches on, and that is available in LNER Azuma and also in GWR Green. So yeah, as I said, I think this is a great addition to the Hornby range. Following that is with the announcement of the new 91s is the DVTs to go with them. So Mark IV DVTs, Intercity Swallow, GNER Blue, and LNER Red, all at 85.49. Going on to the coaches, the LNER Teaks make a return in various guises. 62.99 for them. We've got brakes, buffet cars, full brakes, open firsts and thirds, etc. Also available in BR Blood and Custard. Again, these are cheaper at 55.79. That's because of the printing process required for the teak effect. So if you are an LER modeler, you are paying a little bit more for that lovely printing work that makes it look absolutely gorgeous. And then there's also a full BR Crimson break as well coming into the range. Mornsall coaches make a return. They are 55.79 as well. Various ones in there. Rush through the coaches really. There's Mornsalls, there's Colette's, they're 55%. There's a theme here of the price point for coaches, but every region apart from LMS is covered so far. So yeah, all the various Colette coaches. Again, what you'd expect from a range of coaches, from brakes to thirds, etc. And they are also being available from GWR livery and BR Blood and Custard livery. Following that is the 2 additional coaches for the 395 in the Rail 200 livery at 107.99. BR Tavern coaches, this is brand new tooling from Hornby. They're Mark 1 Tavern coaches. They were very unique style coaches. But very popular, I think, because there were pubs on wheels at 125.99, either BR Blood and Custard or BR Southern Green. The Avanti Class 390 additional coaches for the Climate Change Ride Against Climate Change livery. There we go, that's what it's called. At 98.99 to add them on there for 2 of the packs, and there's a free coach pack as well, and that's 143.99. So there's quite a few coach packs to pick up there if you want the full set of that. Christmas Wagon 2025 coming in at 29.69. We'll move on. North Down Brewery tidal pool tankers. Yeah, we've got various tankers with various breweries printed on the side. I think this may be similar to another company in what they do. The Beatles surprisingly make a return. That must sell. It must sell because they're still making them. So it's either that or they're just trying to get the money's worth out of the license they've paid for. I don't know, one or the other. But if you do want to collect the Beatles stuff, they've got various vans with various different Beatle albums printed on them. £20, 69 pence for them. The Yellow Submarine 100-ton tanker wagon. That was it's very bright.
It's a bit of a surprise, this one. I
It was.
jokingly,
It was. It doesn't quite fit with the theme of everything else, does it? Really, it seemed a bit of a. But there we go. Maybe it's because it was sort of submarine shaped. That's why they went for it. I don't know.
do,
26.99.
what I felt about the Beatles wagons is I don't like it. I don't like the idea behind it. However, I will say that price wise, they're actually not that bad. And I jokingly said with Tom from Bugwas Kelly, we joked it's more like a yellow torpedo rather than a yellow submarine. But I mean, this is probably a really cheap way if you want some TEA wagons. This is probably a really cheap way to buy a rake of them and repaint them.
Yes. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. It's not. Yeah. For a TEA wagon, it's not that bad a price, is it? But yeah, as you say, you just have to repaint it and got yourself some nice tank wagons there. Right. We'll move on and less said about the Beatles range. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. That's fair enough. GWR horse boxes coming in 29.69. There's a circus themed one as well, and then we've got Southern Region Express Dairies box fan. That's 20 pounds 69 pence. The Vox van also comes in a Cadbury livery. Or maybe just a van for Cadbury's. It's in BR brown. It must have been carrying chocolate, I suppose, something like that. For 2025 celebrations, the Hornby Rail 200, Hornby always usually have a wagon, so the Hornby 2025 wagon also has the 200 railway anniversary logo on it. It's a curtain-sided wagon, 23.39. Father's Day wagon in green this year, 17.99. The NMS brake van is coming in at 29.69, available in NMS grey,
Can I
BR.
can I just interrupt? Why is the 2025 Father's Day wagon almost half the price of the 2025 Christmas wagon? Like, aren't they the same wagon?
It's got to be the tooling, resin tooling for the presents that go inside the wagon, I
Oh,
suppose.
yeah, that must be worth the 15 quid extra. Anyway, I thought I'd just quickly interject and be like, what?
I don't know, maybe more people like Christmas than their dads. I don't know. So you have to make it more appealing to buy. I don't know. You have to talk to Hornby marketing about that.
Sorry, you're
Southern
on the
Region,
LMS brake van. Sorry.
yes. NMS brake vans, yes. The NMS grey and a BR boots, but I can't never. I just say brown. I can't never pronounce whatever the books time. Well, I can't. What brown? Um, Southern Region Cattle Wagon is coming back with 27.89 Southern Region livery and in BR. I'll just say brown. Then there's a brake vans. It says Southern Region, but it's just a standard BR 20-ton brake van. 29.69, also available in an olive green with coal sector logo on the side. So I'm not sure where that got used. But yeah, that's an interesting one for a sectorization modeler. There's tankers coming in the range, 14-ton tanker, Shell and BP logos, £20 69. United Oil Importers, that's 2069. Various open trucks, all around £20. More Beatles wagons. This is their American tour, I think, themed wagons. There's three of them. A triple pack of BP TTA wagons. And hopefully I'm getting onto the last page of this announcement because this is going to be a very long episode. Yeah, railroad wagons. Again, these are the newly designed stuff that goes with the train set that's just been announced. They've got the magnetic couplings, and as we've discussed, we're not quite sure how it's going to work and interact with the rest of the range, but hopefully Hornby have thought that out. But £16.19 for the van and £15.74 for the open truck is nothing to grumble about there. Railroad also sees the MGR hopper coming out there. I'm not sure if that's their older tooling or their slightly older tooling. Can't quite tell from the photo, but 17.99. That's a good price, I think, for an MGR hopper wagon. I'm not sure how that compares to the triple packs offered by various other companies, but have a look around and make your choices, sort of thing. The Lima, I think they were described as PTA wagons originally, but they're the large box aggregate wagons. Very popular tooling. They're being returned in GBRF blue livery and Wascosa, which is a Network Rail liveried wagons, £19.79. I think they're a great addition to the railroad range, especially for the modern modeler, to build up something. Because if you consider, all right, they're not particularly accurate, but they kind of look like what they're supposed to be. At £20 a wagon compared to, I think they're about £50 if you want the highly detailed one from Revolution. You're making a hell of a saving if you're building up these trains and you don't have lots of money to spend on model railways. So yeah, another excellent addition from Hornby there, I think. Following that is their railroad range of Class 800 coaches, 31.49. So there we are. Yeah, they are £35 without the discount, 31.49 with the discount. I think that's going to be superb. Again, another great thing Hornby have brought to us. The introduction of Mark III coaches in the railroad range, I think, is brilliant. It was always something I kept saying, put in their suggestion box, because they'd have the GWR train set, and you'd only get that one coach. And I was just like, why can you not do some coaches in the railroad range to add to that train, so you could at least build up the castle set?
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe might see that now. I don't know that train set staying in the range. Following that is the Azuma coaches for the 800s, 31.49, and finally railroad level crossing at 13.49. I don't think there was anything Scaledale announced, was there?
No, there wasn't. It was left. I mean, railroad level crossing is a very. I feel like this is probably the worst thing they've announced, because it doesn't feel like it fits with anything else, and it very much reminds me of the old school Ertl Thomas range sort of scenery. It's got that look to it.
I think it's old Lima.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Lima tooling, yeah. So yeah, essentially the train travels over that piece of track. It just works on a spring mechanism. The weight of the train pushes the track down, and the spring mechanism pushes makes the barriers come down, and then they'll go back up when the train leaves the track. I'm sure I had one when I was a kid. You know what? For £13, it's a great little gimmick for younger hands who want a level crossing on their layout. But yeah, surprised not to see any Scaledale out there. But that's the Hornby announcements. And I think, well, for once on the Model Rail Replacement podcast, we've been very positive about Hornby. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll be our friends again. It's not me, Sam. Who is Sam?
Like I said in the last episode, I think I'm not saying anything that doesn't necessarily have fact behind it, but agreed. I am very positive about this. I think the biggest winner in this is railroad, or let's say for the first time, we can honestly say we had a big thing about it before Christmas, and we said there's no real train sets that really entice people into the hobby. You know what? Hornby can tell us to go shut up now, because I think that the train sets that they have brought out in here, ranging from the Santa Express $39.99 all the way up to the I'm just trying to. So the Azuma and the Intercity Express are both $180 before your retailer discounts. I think they've put some really good things in here, and I think James is completely right. If they put a Railroad 66 and some of those wagons in there, they'd have another fantastic train set to go with, because you'd have something that you could run region specific, and it'd be fantastic. I'm doing a clap. Well done to Horn, because I think this is actually a really, really good announcement. Is there stuff
I thought it was a really good announcement. I'll be like, there's nothing in there for me, but for the modeler and encouraging people to get into the hobby, I think Hornby have really, really nailed it on this one. So brilliant stuff from Hornby. Really looking forward to seeing these products come out to market. It's been a long old news chapter, and we've still got our interview with Lyndon, so we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll be talking to Lyndon from Fareford East.
Sir, a delivery has arrived for you.
Bring it through, Wilson. This'll be my loco I sent to Emperor's Path.
Was it airbrush or oils this time?
Both. It's all very affordable.
Even for a poorly paid butler like me?
Oh, yes. Just remember, Emperor's Path Weathering.
Contact Sam at Emperor's Path via email at emperorspathcontact@gmail.com or Instagram at emperors_path. If it's not filthy, let's fix that.
Look at that!
Well, it's finally happened, people. After many, many weeks of being mentioned on the show, being talked about, even making a special guest appearance at Christmas, he's finally worn us down to allow him to come on for an interview. Let's have a round of applause for Lyndon, please. Woo! Hello, Lyndon. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, James. Thank you for the invite. It's good to start 2025 on the right spirit.
That's it. So, have you got many modelling plans for this year?
Trying to finish a layout and trying to keep the other one going as well at the same time.
Excellent stuff. Cool. So, for those that are not familiar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself, and any of your social media handles, and just a little bit of your modelling background, please.
Okay, well, I'm Lyndon from Fareford Depot, and currently the chairman of the Fairmont Railway Club and also their exhibition manager for my sins. Been running exhibitions for about 25 years, I think. And I've sort of missed out the last 20 years of having a layout. So that's why Fairford Depot has come about as a sort of COVID project. And the other layout, Fairford East, has sort of grown from that. So apart from trains, a bit of music, play the piano, play the organ, that sort of thing. Do stuff for various clients, including the MOD, and try and keep busy.
Cool. I like that. And it's nice to have hobbies outside model railways, isn't it? Just to have that break every now and again. So,
Very
great.
much so. It keeps the brain active.
That's it. Especially music. Music's always good, isn't it? So, sort of, I can't play
Yeah,
anything.
it went indeed. Music is a great way to sort of I won't say express oneself, but it's actually very good for mental health, apparently.
Yeah, there we are. Two great hobbies for mental health. We've got music and we've got model railways. So obviously you know the format of how we go on this. We have a set of questions that we always like to follow, because we're too lazy to be really sort of imaginative and start, digging into your answers and finding more questions. We just stick to a format. So I'll start with the first one. Are you steam, diesel, or electric?
Well, I have to say it's probably going to be it's really hard between electric and diesel, but I think I'm just slightly more towards the diesel these days.
There we are. We're in 2025 and we're hitting diesel. We're scoring one on the chalkboard already. Excellent stuff. So what makes you more swing towards the diesel than the electric? Well, what is it that sways you that way?
I think the era I grew up in, I'm probably both older than you two. Many happy memories of being at St Pancras Station in its good old days with the HSTs coming down from Northamptonshire. Just the sight and smell of them, and being a young kid, seeing next to this thing that does 125 miles an hour. That always stuck in my mind. Then going down to Paddington, see the HSTs down there. It sticks in your mind what happens in your childhood.
Definitely. I like when you say St Pancras, I have remembered from my youth, going to it was College Street in just outside of Bedford, which is like in an industrial estate. And my grandparents used to take me there, and like you say, used to watch the stuff on the Midland Main Line go along there. So when you say, they're watching the HSTs at St Pancras, I definitely know that feeling of what you're referring to there. And obviously, Paddington's a great place to go to look for engines, because it's Western region. So yeah.
Very much so. And you just remember the Thameslink, I assume, starting from Bedford.
Oh yes. I mean that was the downside of growing up from there. That's all you really saw was 319s and HSTs, and if you were lucky, you might catch a freight, because I don't think it was that busy for freight back then. You had the Stuart bin train, and that was about it. I think, from what I remember seeing.
I think it was the old 58s and the egg timers, I think.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, the old 58.
Up the Sharnbrook summit. Wonderful things.
Yeah, that's it. That's the stuff. So cool. So yeah, definitely is. What about have you any interest in Steam, or is it totally out for you?
Well, I will admit I do have a Thomas. I do have a Thomas in double O gauge. I think most people from their childhood have has a Thomas. You know, um, some people might have joked heavily at my post before Christmas about going to see the D's on the back of the steamer as it went past Ford Station. Um, you know, um, yeah, okay. I will say, Steam is, it's unique. It's where it all started. But as I said earlier, for me, it's childhood memories. The Diesels do it for me.
I think that's it. I think with the guests we had on the show, they all sort of seem to fall into the same sort of age bracket, and yeah, diesel electric is definitely that popular answer. And I think you're right; it is that nostalgia that sways people to model it and sort of reminisce, isn't it? So your layout Fareford Depot is double O gauge. Are you a double O gauge fan, or is there a scale out there you prefer, even if you can't model in it?
No, definitely double O gauge. Um, you know, it's what I've always had. It's what I had as a kid. I just think it's a very sensible gauge to model in. Um, I know, you know, there are attractions for road gauge at the moment. Some very nice locos out there, sitting on the diesel, the EDs out there, etc., etc. But definitely double O for me.
That's a good shout, isn't it? Yeah, it's. I think it's always going to be the most popular answer. Obviously, it's the most common one. And like you say, it's just, especially as the eyesight deteriorates, it certainly seems far more sensible than N-gauge as you get older. So that's
Yeah, now I'm sort of over 40. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, good. Keep the gauges slightly larger than you want, really.
yeah. So I've got the downside of the boys obviously got his N-gauge, and he keeps giving me locos to fix. Okay, I have to try and look at them and go, oh, God, it's a
Oh, right,
terrible.
yes, yes,
I don't know why I
yes.
gave him.
I'd say the magnifying glass and the helping hands are great things for.
Yes, definitely. That's yeah. If you're going to be an N-gauge modeler, you definitely need to invest into a magnifying glass and helping hands, because otherwise you're going to
Yes, yes.
struggle with what you're looking at. But not your problem. You're a gauge, and that's perfectly cool. So we'll ask you, what is your favorite loco you own?
That is a hard one, actually. Now, because I've already mentioned diesel, um, I actually do have 12 Class 73s, electric diesels. So I have to say, it would be an electric diesel, which covers obviously both camps in that one.
Mm.
If you said exactly which one, I would struggle because they're all wonderful. They're all good, and especially got sound on. Um,
Are they all
so
the Daypole ones, or do you have a mix of old
there is a
new?
mixture. They are the majority are Daypole. Um, but there are some others. There's a couple of the old Hornby ones I've got some as well. So yeah. But yeah, this Class 73 definitely is the one of the best locos, one of the best loco I own.
That's cool. That's very cool. Yeah, I did. There's something. I mean, they get called shoe boxes, but there's something about the 73. I don't know. There's an attraction about it. I think, particularly the Network Southeast livery, I think it looks good on them. It's quite
That
nice
was
to see that the Hornby have announced the GBRF 73 in their railroad range. So that was a nice announcement when they made that last week.
indeed I did note that. So I think I've got both of the Network Southeast liveried 73s, both with sounding. 73 something oh nine. I can't remember what the number is. I think that's right. And I also got the Southern one. They just look lovely. They really do, you know. There may be a new Gatwick Express purchase coming up soon for a certain layout.
I think what's really nice about the 73s, no, that's starting it wrong. I think with the 73s, the very, very early liveries on them, I think they look really odd. But it's when you start getting into that sectorization era where they start giving them all slightly different liveries that they really start to come alive as a loco and the look on them. And I feel like even So my favourite has always been the executive livery on them. But I also, it's no secret, I love a 73 in the Caledonian livery as well, because I think because it's been converted to just a diesel loco, it looks beefier. If you I know James said the Network Southeast for the 73, but what would you pick as your best livery on it?
I have to say, this would be a shock, Sam. I'm probably going to agree with you, actually. I think the executive livery stands out, but probably because it's what I first saw down at East Croydon Station, where my grandparents used to live near there. So to see that going through with a rake, Gap Express rake, again sticks in my mind, and the lovely whine of the traction motors and of the GLV on the back. Um, so yeah, I think the executive livery very much.
Nice.
Actually, I changed my mind. Think about it. I'm putting my vote in for the Pullman livery. I think that always looked really
Is that
smart.
allowed?
I'd say
Yeah.
it is. Like, why wouldn't it be? I mean, it looks great.
Well, yeah, that's true. Oh, what about what? Do I guess, what about the network, the yellow Network Rail ones?
They also look nice.
They're okay.
Sorry.
So I wasn't going to bite on that yellow, but no, someone else did, so that's fine.
Cool. So yeah, your favorite loco then is a 73. And did we get to the bottom of which 73?
Well, I'm going to say the executive one. So yeah, that's the sort of the one that used to put on the Gap Express. Not the blue with the large loco, but um, the yellow, red, and black version. So sort of late 80s, early 90s, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, that yeah, for anyone listening who can't quite picture it, it's the Intercity Swallow style painting, isn't it? But slightly earlier introduction of the 80s, isn't it? With the large logo BR arrows of indecision on the side. Yeah, it is a nice livery.
Yeah. And it would be one of my aims to again do a driver day on one of those because they're just great locos.
That's cool. That's very cool. So that's your favourite that you own. Is there something out there that you don't own that you really like? And it doesn't have to be a model that currently exists. It could be a model that you'd like to see exist.
Well, I think from probably previous conversations with people, I would love a five whiz again because of when I moved down to the area in sort of the early 90s. They were flying around from Southampton on the three trains an hour to London. They were all around and were so comfortable to sit in and travel to London on. Again, stuck out in my mind. So if whenever it comes out, I'll be buying one.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week, and obviously there was a lot of requests coming through um, from people that said they wanted to see that as well. And I mean, I don't know if it's just because we just attract people that model in third rail electric, and everyone else is just fed up with the podcast because we talked about Southern stuff. But yeah, it seems to be a popular choice to be produced. I don't know. I'm sure it will appear soon. It's got to, right?
For those of you at home who don't know what a five whiz is, by the way, a five whiz is the Class 442, which we spoke about last week. It was the most requested thing, and it's the one that's converted from Mark III rolling stock into an EMU. Just so everyone's aware.
Still don't know what that is. It's also nicknamed a plastic pig, which I'm sure many people immediately go, "Oh, no, know what you're talking about."
And I suppose for any of the geeks out there, the motor coach uses the old 4-rep drive units, motor units. Hence with that lovely whining sound.
You'll be after the DCC sound version, then, would you?
Of course, as I say to everybody, buy DCC sound for your locos because you can always switch it off.
That is very true. It's, I think we're going to talk about it sort of in a future episode because I've built up a collection of DCC sound locos, like diesel wise, and I find I prefer to run the diesels with the sound switched off and the steam engines with the sound on. I don't know. Maybe the room's just too small for the loud grumbles of a diesel engine, but That's a future topic to talk about. We'll move on to our next question and ask you, what is your favourite project you've undertaken so far?
Right. Well, I will say it is the layout, the depot layout, um, and um, which all happened in reverse order to a certain extent because I bought the scissors crossover for Fairford East at the beginning of COVID, did nothing with it, looked on eBay and saw the beginnings of a TMD depot. So I acquired that, rebuilt it, rewired it, added two more boards, and that's what now is Fairford Depot. Um, so yeah, that's probably the greatest project so far. The fact that I've not had a layout for 20 odd years, making up for lost time. And it, and,
Yeah,
it,
it's a
and
good achievement.
it's
Yeah, no, that's good. I've seen it. Obviously, you took it to the Didcot show last year, and I think that's where I saw it. You also were with it with the NEC as well, weren't you?
Yeah, well, you avoided that one, didn't you? So that's
Yeah, I
fine.
managed to avoid you on that one. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
thought I
good.
just mentioned that, just as in passing,
Just circled around. But I didn't get to see any layouts. Look, they bought video games, a large engine that a child could play in, other things where children could play, like the play train stuff and the Hornby stand and that. There was a few other layouts where they could drive the train. Um, it was a day out for the boy. It wasn't for me because we just did everything he wanted to do, and he said, "Daddy, don't make me go see that weirdo on that layout again." And I said, "All right, son, all right." So.
Well, you see, it's all about mental health and safeguarding these days, and I quite agree with your statement. But maybe we should
Right.
end this whole thing now.
God.
But yeah,
I'm
I
gonna I'm
I
gonna admit,
only jest. We just didn't have enough time. At the end, it was a good show, and that's what I liked about it was that there was stuff for him and kept him entertained, and I think that's where the future really should lie in model rail exhibitions is making it more interactive and useful for um, children to participate and enjoy the hobby rather than just having to stand there and watch the trains go by and be told to just look and don't touch. Um,
No,
the-
I very much agree with you, James. As I said before, being an exhibition manager for quite some time, one thing that does lack a lot of shows is the sort of hands-on for youngsters, and there is that huge reluctance to do it um, because of various reasons. Um, but it's always good to have a layout there that a children's corner. That certainly fair. We ever have a children's corner layout where they come and drive the trains, or even just having a test track board somewhere where if you bought a loco at the show, just come and run it and make sure it works. I think it's very important.
yeah, definitely. Isn't it? I think it's got better. I think with the introduction of iPads being used as train controllers, I've definitely seen a lot more interaction at the front by offering out the iPad to a child to drive the train, which I assume with that you still have as the owner of the lab, you still have control over the locomotive, so it can't go whizzing off at 100 mile an hour and break. So you sort of lessen that risk, but children still get to have the enjoyment of running trains and appreciating your hard work as a modeler because we as adults go and look at these model railways and we appreciate everything that's been put into it, and as modelers and stuff, we understand how much time and effort's been put in. But when you're a child, you're there for the trains, really, aren't you? So. Um,
Oh, you are, and any train that moves, you want to grab when you're a youngster. Um, that's always the fear, isn't it? When you got a layout, hence why a lot of layouts now have barriers in front of them, so the children can't quite reach the layout and pick up your loco as it goes past.
that's it.
Um, so you know, it's difficult. It's very difficult. You want to encourage them to get into the hobby, but in a safe and constructive way.
Yes, yeah. In an appreciate the time and effort sort of way, isn't it?
Yes,
Lovely.
yes.
So, Fairford Depot, your favourite project you've undertaken so far. We'll move on and ask, what is your next hobby purchase? And this could be anything from a loco to a paintbrush. What have you got planned?
Right. Well, as you know, there's the another layout coming out, Fairford East, at some point this year. Actually, it sounds silly, but I need a system to operate the all the points, like a route setting system. So I'm going to be looking out for a DCC route setting system, so anybody can come along, set a route, and drive a train.
Oh,
Because I could just imagine some head-on collisions if I'm not careful on the on the new layout. Uh,
excellent. Yeah.
it sounds slightly weird, but because of the nature of the layout, you could easily have two trains having a fight off across the Scissors crossover.
No, we don't want that. We definitely don't want that. We talked about this in the ceiling episode previous of the rules of the railway, and it's one train, one section, one time. So yeah, no, that sounds great. I'm always interested in how people sort of try and make their layouts more prototypical by following sort of the interlocking requirements of signalling to protect your model trains, which I think is a sensible thing, because they're getting very expensive, aren't they? And like you say, you don't want them colliding into each other.
No, this is true. The system I use, which is the Gauge Master Prodigy 2, also other systems are available out there. It has a route setting function on it, which I need to explore. So that could be the way around it. But I have seen other versions of sort of NX panels for route setting. So I will have a investigate that, and you may see it all up and running at a show not in the too distant future.
That'd be cool. Yeah, it's yeah, 'cause like you say, you have got that advantage. Some of the DCC controller systems. I know the DigiTrax one has it as well, like the route setting functions on it. But I'm always all for the NX panel, just because that was my favorite style of signal box to work. And there's nothing more fun, I don't think, than in my case, turning a switch and pressing a button and setting a route that way. And if you can get your model railway to do the same, I think it's more interesting, and it gets you to understand the layout of what you're running better if you're looking at it that way, rather than just pressing route 15 and then points move over, and it sort of just happens um, without you really knowing what's going on. I don't.
Mm.
That's just my signal head on, really, I suppose. But
But do you, I don't know obviously your complete background, James, but do you experience the old electromechanical boxes?
no, I was never allowed in them.
Oh,
Yeah, I was supposed to go when I was training. I was supposed to have gone to Banbury for a week, and it never got set up. So I've never
right,
pulled a lever in anger, and
right.
it
Well,
kills me every day.
well, I suppose I'm lucky the fact that I did spend a little bit of time in Paul box and also Aldershot box with a good friend of mine who sat longer with us, um, and thoroughly enjoyed um, pulling levers under supervision.
It's it's the ones that that I work with that come from lever boxes are always the ones that talk really highly of the job, and always so fondly of the lever boxes that even with their complaints of it was cold in the winter, and this, that, and the other, they never complained about having to work in one of them. And that I've always sort of listened to those stories in envy, and just thought I'd really would have loved to have worked in a lever box just to have that experience. But
So,
yeah.
so yeah, you would have missed the trying to wrench your arm out the socket if you pull the lever too hard,
Yes. That's,
for a very good reason. That's why it's there. But you definitely know about it when you've done it.
yes, the long pull, and then the wire would snap, and you'd get they'd go flying back into the chair behind them, sort of thing. Um,
Yes,
so yeah, some great stories there.
yeah, it
I,
is.
I,
Yes.
I got off on a tangent. I was going to say, when I was at signaling school, one of the girls that was on the course with me, she was up in, I think it was Whitehaven box, and the long pull was she was quite a short girl, so the long pull was a real difficult one. And she basically, when her manager came to make sure she could do it, she told him to turn around, so she didn't see how she did it. But she basically just hangs off the lever to pull it. But
Yes.
Do you remember that? I moved it, so proved that you could do it. So
Yeah, it's
um,
gone are the days that I can't actually. We are digressing slightly, but there can't be many boxes left like that at all now in the country.
no, they're not. They're sort of they're disappearing. I think on the western, especially around the London area, you've got Greenford left, and that's probably it for that. Otherwise it's the Cotswold boxes that still survive, and even the ones out in the West Country are all
Mm.
disappearing and getting moved into Exeter. So it's
Well, I think
they call it progress apparently, but it's a
well,
shame.
just correct me if I'm wrong. I think Havant near me is still electromechanical because it's so complicated. The whole area to put it back into or put it into the rock. They've not done it yet.
Could be. But, there's
Um,
so we definitely got off on a tangent. There's definitely I think other reasons why these things haven't happened, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about you. So,
oh, of
uh,
course, yes. Sorry about that. Yes, yes.
cool. So your next hobby purchase will most likely be a DCC route setting piece of equipment, which sounds wonderful. From my point of view, I'm sure some people might not be so interested in that, but yeah, to me, it sounds great. Um, what is your favourite part of the hobby?
This has to be. This is again another interesting question, and it's because we now got so much social media avenues. Um, I think meeting people and sharing stories about your hobby and experiences, I think, is one of the best things ever going. Um, it's what I think it's made the hobby. Yes, we talk to people at shows, which is good, but you know, having a chat with somebody about your hobby online, everything, I think it's brilliant. Sharing ideas, winding people up. Never, I would never do that, would I? And yes, and just interacting with people. It's something I enjoy. That's probably why I'm still doing the model railway shows. That's what I was organising, because you get to meet all your sort of friends and colleagues from model railway while they come and play trains in a happy environment. Just having that interaction with people is just such good news.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. It's definitely sort of advanced over the years, hasn't it? From what was, I remember growing up and my dad having an interest in model railways, but I don't think he had any friends that were also had that interest. It was just his interest that he just had up in the loft, and that was that. And there was no other real interaction apart from reading the magazines. And like nowadays, obviously, we've got YouTube. Me and Sam tried to do this podcast as a way of talking about model railways and that. And like you say, you've got the shows, the clubs. There's so many great ways of talking about this hobby. It definitely is grown in that sense, hasn't it?
but very very much so. My first show I organised back in, was it 1995 or six? Everything was done by letter. What was email? Email was a dirty word. We didn't have Instagram and Facebook and all that business. So it was all old school and not actually seeing people face to face to talk to them. So things have changed dramatically. But I'll give you an example. Last weekend, um, I was at a show, and it was so nice to see people who I've interacted with on social medias come up and say hello. About five or six people came and said hello while I was driving while I was creating the layout. It's just such good thing to be in that circle.
Yeah,
I think what's really good about the social media aspect of it as well is stereotypically we tend to have this both the polar opposites. If we have the people who are very outward speaking and can handle themselves in a social situation, but we do also have the people who aren't as socially adept or aren't as outgoing. And the fact that we've got social media almost to warm up the conversation before you meet people in person, and it massively changes. I always use Danny as an example. Danny is a really, really good friend of mine, but I'd been speaking to Danny for a couple of years before I finally got to meet him. But when we met each other, it was like we'd known each other for years and we'd already met each other before. And I feel like with the social media side of the hobby, it's almost like it gives you the ability to get to know people so that when you meet them in person, you don't have to be that shy person. I mean, I'm not saying that you won't be, but you do have that ability that you do sort of know people when you get there. Because agreed, I never had any friends who were really into trains when I was younger. And I feel if we had social media around now, I probably would have been into trains for a lot longer.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's very, very true. I think when I first met you, Sam, how many years ago it was now. Um, I know we'd exchanged messages beforehand, and you probably thought, "What a real idiot this is," until you met me. And I think that's quite true, isn't it?
Oh, I openly told you. So anyone who doesn't know, I openly said to Lyndon how Lyndon comes across on social media isn't a good justification of what he's like in person. I was genuinely unsure how to take Lyndon's humor, but once I met Lyndon in person or heard him speak, it was very easy to understand. Oh, okay, I get it. You're just very sarcastic, but Lyndon has a thing of not putting like the emojis or the smiley faces with certain phrases, which he does now because I said to him, I don't understand your phrasing when you're joking and stuff like that. Um,
You see, like I've listened to you, Sam. I must have learned something over the last 2 or 3 years then.
Ironically, the what Lyndon and I first started talking was I went and I was asked to film a Portsmouth show, and I uploaded the video. And
Oh, yes,
I
I remember
uploaded the
this.
video, and I had all the layouts on it. And Lyndon messaged me and went, "You didn't film Fareford, Fareford Depot." I immediately went to the timestamp, copy and paste it, and went, "It's here." It was like, "Oh, sorry." So so yeah, that's how Lyndon and I
Yes,
first started talking, and then
yes,
eventually became friends.
yeah.
I will say, I don't think it's any surprise. Very, very good friends as well, as much as we
Well,
bully each other.
yeah. What we do on occasion, yeah. Well, I think it's good to keep the brain active on these sort of things, and then now James turns up and spoils it all. It's fine, isn't it? Really, so
Yeah, that's what I do. It's what I do. I liked how Sam was describing the social media thing earlier, sort of preparing before you meet someone. It very much sounded like you were describing a dating app to me.
I very nearly said a little bit like dating, but I didn't want anyone to sort of go
hang on a
get up
minute.
and get.
Where's this conversation going?
It's
I don't know. Let's just go with the flow.
it is the model. It's the model railway equivalent of dating. Rather than going to a date not having anything prepared beforehand, now in the model railway world, or going for dinner with someone, you can arrive and you know a little bit about them beforehand, so um, you can learn a little bit more before you start talking to someone, rather than sitting down for dinner only to find that the person you're talking to is a massive bigot, which nobody really wants. Check, please.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, indeed. That's probably another reason why James avoided me at the NEC. But there you are.
Did you just
moving
call
on.
Never let
James a
that go.
bigot?
Never gonna let that go.
What's the next question?
I have no idea. We've completely gone off topic here. It's yeah. If you're going to create a new layout, what is the one thing you'd need on it?
That is actually quite very hard to answer, that question. There's been plans in the back of my mind for a brand new layout outside of Fairford East. Um, I think actually it'd be signals that worked. Um, on both my layouts, I haven't got any signals at all. Now, Fairford East will have signals on it, but they don't work at the moment. Um, so actually, that is really, really hard to answer. Really hard to answer because, you know, I've almost got everything I want to a certain extent.
I think working signals is a good answer, though. I mean, personally, I'm very biased towards that sort of thing, but I think it adds to that sort of element of realism that everyone's trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more realistic than actual working signals following the correct sequence, especially when you have an idea of how it works. And again, we'll go back to that signaling episode that we did, where it was just trying to give people sort of a rough idea of what to look for when you are modeling signals and what to try and achieve, etc. And yeah, I think adding that element to your layout can make all the difference to it. So I think that's a good shout.
Yeah, yeah. And if you sort of look at that question again, you could need very good operators for a layout. which is not always easy to find.
Yeah, I think that's very true. That's my dad would agree with you. His class 45 ended up on the floor many years ago, due to someone in the family, and he's needed good operators since then. Amazingly, that person's gone on to drive real trains. It was too tight a curve, and he knew he shouldn't have gone around that corner to that fast. So yeah, good operators is definitely a very good shout.
Yes, and always looking for operators who are willing to be trained up.
Hey Sam. Mm.
Stop.
Now, before you say anything, I did not even mention Sam's name, so thank you, James, for that.
It couldn't have been me. I live too far away.
That's 1-0 to me, then I think.
Yeah.
Sam has the right to reply.
He won't leave the flat. I'll try to get him out of the flat. He just won't go. He's you know that TV show Game On.
Oh
He's like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
he's like that character in it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, he did. We missed half the Christmas quiz, didn't he? Because that other bloke turned up and did Lord Voldemort, or whatever his name was.
Oh, Lord Chester.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
Worthington
him.
the Third with his Weatheralls in his pocket. That's right. Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard him recently, but he sounds more like Tom from Buggles Kelly Station these days. I don't know why.
Maybe he's had
Oh,
some
really?
elocution lessons.
Yeah.
What from you, Sam?
No, not from me. I'm just a lowly butler.
Just to remind anyone listening who's wondering what they've downloaded, you are indeed listening to the Model Rail Replacement podcast. It's just that we've got Lyndon on the show now. You've worked out why we tried to avoid having on the show for so long, because we knew this would happen. We even told him not to go off on a tangent, and we've let him do it. And we've just merrily followed along.
Well, you
I can't
actually.
even remember what the question was.
Well, I can, but actually, I'm just reading your script here, James. So we are on track at the moment. Don't worry.
Are we good? Good.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you want the next question, or try to ask me?
Right, you. Go on, then. What's the next question? We've role reversed.
So, I'll ask myself then. What is the one hobby item you'd encourage everyone to buy?
This is so unhinged. Oh my god.
That's a good question, then. Yeah, what would be the one hobby item you'd encourage everyone to buy?
If you're dealing with exhibitions, a large receptacle for tea or coffee.
Oh, good shout. Yeah. Tea is very important for running the real railway, so I can see why it'd be very important for running a model railway.
Yeah, yeah. Have we lost Sam, by the way? Because he's gone very quiet in the background.
I think he's having a laughing fit and has switched his microphone off.
Has he? Oh, right.
Possibly passed out on the floor. We just don't know because his camera's off as well. So we'll just pretend he's still alive.
Yeah, well, we'll just talk about him before he comes back. So,
right. So you're doing exhibition. You've got yourself a nice large. What is it? A tea? Are we talking teapot or?
No, I recently purchased when I was up in Ely over the festive period. I managed to find myself a rather large insulated travel coffee cup. Now this must hold about 4 or 5 cups of tea in it.
Okay.
And I used it at a show not long ago, and I think I went through about 3 of those in a day. So I was probably as high as a kite by the end of the day.
I've never been more proud of you.
Oh, you're back. Well, thank you. Welcome back, sir.
He's not dead.
Yeah. I say it's not. Yeah. What do you mean not dead?
Well, I don't know. I just assumed he'd passed out in a laughing fit on the floor.
Well, it's good to see that. It's good to hear Sam laughing. He's normally miserable.
Cool. Right. So yeah, you're going to do an exhibition then. If you explain your layout, Lyndon suggests that you get yourself a nice big travel mug to keep your coffee in, or tea, depending on your choice, or squash if that's not your kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good actually. You just suggest because I've never done a model railway show, so I don't really know the ins and outs of what goes on behind the scenes, I suppose. And I suppose it is a long old day, running a layout and sort of keeping the trains running and sort of. I take it you get breaks and you move around and stuff like that, but.
You do. It depends on where you are. That may link into the next question in a second. Reading ahead, of course, the script. if you give yourself a good maybe an hour off throughout the day to wander around the show, that's very important. Um, if you've got a sort of team of you, because if you sat on a layout all day, it can be quite draining.
Yeah, I
Um,
can imagine so. I don't. I think that's always something that sort of put me off the idea of being stuck in the same place doing. I like my layouts, but I don't have a very good attention span, and I do tend to sort of wander off after a while to go do something else. So yeah, it's
um, that's a bit worrying if you're looking at an next panel all evening.
they don't let me do that anymore. Don't worry about that.
Oh, don't they? Oh, okay.
No, I have to sit. I used to have to sit at the back desk and watch other people do it. Um,
Oh, managerial level then.
well, they put manager in the title, but okay, we're getting into politics in my workplace. Let's not do that.
Well, I'm just curious about it. I know it'd be another episode, wouldn't it, about signalling at some point, but I just find it fascinating, as hence my answers earlier. So,
Uh, yeah, no, it is. I think, yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm going to be biased to it. I think it is a really interesting subject. It was something I never thought about really when trying to look for work on the railway until I just so happened to apply for a crossing keeper job. Was asked to read. Network Rail used to have a day in the life of a signaller pamphlet that you were supposed to read before you went to interview, and I read it, and I was like, I didn't even think of this job, and it sounded just right up my street. It was like the right job for me. Um, and yeah, when I did leave it to go try something else, I missed it, and I came back to it. It sort of it was just one of those jobs that it's a great job, really. Yeah,
I will, yeah, I will admit if the current work line of work I'm in at the moment sort of fizzles out in the next sort of 10 years, um, either train driver or signalman would be two areas I would look at.
I think signalers are more enjoyable and probably more rewarding than train driver personally. Um, if I was giving career advice to anyone,
Right.
I think signaler is um, not quite as nicely paid as what some of the train drivers get, but depending which signal box you go to, and obviously if you're willing to do the amount of work required for it, you can be quite well looked after. So yeah.
Well, I suppose you have the advantage you can actually stitch up train drivers by seeing the route they met or they're not expecting, or into a platform they're not expecting.
We try not to do things like that. It's,
Is it called
the passengers don't appreciate it when the train's supposed to go into platform 7 at Reading and you decide to put it on platform 15. They've got a long way to walk. It's and they've only got about 30 seconds to get there as well. So
Oh, that was you, was it? It was to me a
I
couple of years ago.
oh,
Oh,
I haven't worked Reading in years.
I can't blame you. I can't blame you then. That's a
No.
shame. Um, I was rushing over to I was trying to get the Virgin Voyager back down to Southampton, and it was like it got moved. Oh, really annoying. Yeah.
Yeah. Try not
Well,
to do it, but it does happen. It does happen,
yeah.
unfortunately. But
Yeah.
there we go. So yeah, we try not to stitch anyone up by flipping things around. What was our question? I've completely forgot. We're just talking about
Um,
signaling.
yeah. Well, I'll reread the question for you, James. What is the one hobby item you'd encourage everyone to buy? And I answered about the very large coffee or tea, uh,
Oh, we still on that
Receptacle.
one.
receptacle that you can buy from many good high street shops.
There we are. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It'll just
I say, if I could find one with a USB plug on the bottom so it keeps it warm, be even better. But most of these new ones actually do keep the temperature quite warm actually throughout the day. So
Yeah, that's a good idea, isn't it? I suppose, providing you don't go
yeah,
electric.
well,
Anyway,
well,
we're getting off a tangent again. Right then, so
no, surely not, surely not. No, no, no,
you
no, no.
did mention that the next question you had an answer pre-prepared, so hopefully you'll be able to dive straight into this and tell me what is your favourite exhibition, and also we should really separate this and say what's your favourite layout. In fact, I'm going to separate this. Firstly, what's your favourite exhibition?
Okay, I'm going to say my most famous exhibition was the Worley show at NEC. I went to that show many, many, many years ago as a small boy. That was about 1994, 95. and I was in awe of the size of this place. I did live in the Midlands for a few years and had visited the NEC, but not that one particular event. It wasn't until I moved down here that when I became a member of the Fair Model Railway Club that we actually did trips up to the NEC, which was then the show was then run by the Warley Model Railway Exhibitions, and I was just in awe of all these layouts. Um, and, it was I thought they really that how much there was out there to explore, and it was they were good days. And I went for the first sort of 5 6 years on the trot, and then missed it for about 20 years. So I would say, say the NEC shows are some of the best out there.
Yeah, do you know what? I think you said the 94, 95 one. I think that was the first one I went to as well, actually. Um, I mean, I could probably decide. Was there a layout there that used real water? It was an American style layout with a boat that would transfer the wagons across. What was that layout there? Do you remember that one?
Um, I'm I probably I might have a program for it somewhere, which is really sad. I do. I think I do remember. I can't remember what that was called.
There we are then. I was just that was one of the layouts that stuck in my mind from that because it was just obviously
Yeah,
working on real water. It was great. So yeah, we must have been the same show. But yeah,
that's frightening. That's very frightening, as you're probably a few years younger than me.
so, I don't know. It's always rude to ask a lady's age, isn't it? So but yeah, I think you're right. I think it's nice that Warners have taken on the mantle to try and run their own version of Wally, and I think for their first attempt at it, this previous one just gone. I thought was a pretty good show, and I know there was grumblings, but it's early days. There's always going to be teething troubles. But yeah, I think you're right. It's you always, people say the hobby's dead, or you find that, you don't really meet anyone outside of, like we talked about earlier, the social media circles that's into the hobby, and you kind of think, oh, not maybe that many people into it. Until, like you say, you go to these big shows and you see the number of people that are there, and you realize how many people are actually into this hobby. Um, it's quite impressive.
Yeah, very very much so, and also it gives you sort of ideas for your own layout. You see things, oh, I've never done that before, or oh, that's how you do it, except or that sort of thing. So it is very much so. And yeah, Warner's have taken on a huge mantle for that show. I know some people in the organisational team of that because I do stuff with the Bristol show, which is also sort of run by Warner's. It's a huge headache. It really is. When you take on that size, um, sadly, the enjoyment for the public is almost taken out the window because it actually you're running it as a business,
Yeah,
which a lot of people forget. I know what you and I obviously I see it on both sides because of the background I have in model railway shows. Um, and if you just follow the rules, then the whole thing runs smoothly. The rules are there for a reason. It may not be 100%, it may not be what you want to do, but the rules are there for a reason. Um, yes, as you said, James, there were a few grumblings at the NEC last November, but it's the first one they've done. They are listening to what people have said. But on the other hand, people who may be slightly more mature in age may have to change their ways of doing things because you can't stay still in this world.
no, it's true. I think that goes back to what we were discussing, is it making it more interactive for the younger generation, is it? I always find it a bit surprising that there's always complaints of the younger generation aren't interested in the hobby, but we can't get them into the hobby. They don't want to join the hobby. And then you'll just, you see comments like, um, kids were getting in the way, or I mean, I've done some of my earlier exhibition videos when I've done the narration over what I've recorded is mostly because I've taken my son with me, and when he was a lot younger, the reason that I started doing that was because he used to talk about the trains over everything I was recording. So all you could hear was him chattering away, talking about the trains. Which, do you know what? That's what people have been wanting. They've been wanting that younger generation to have an interest in trains, and here he was having an interest in trains. And I remember there was someone commented and said, um, oh, it's a good video, except for that child talking all the time. It's just like, well, what do you want? You want them to join the hobby so it doesn't die out, yet you don't want them there. So they kind of want a cake and eat it kind of thing.
No, precisely, and this is going to be a fairly sweeping statement, and I'm more than happy to make it. You can easily tell by a layout and its operators if they're going to engage with you when you go up to them and maybe try and talk to them. I'm pretty good actually at judging operators on layouts. There are some layouts, and no names mentioned, that I wouldn't even go and talk to because they just don't want to know. They're there playing trains, below what the public are doing.
Yeah.
They just want to play trains.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. You do get that feeling, don't you? There are some that you walk up to and you kind of feel like you're intruding on their good time, sort of thing.
I get the fact that if you're running to a timetable and someone asks you a question, you can't always answer. But at least just say, well, let me just do this one move and I'll come back to you. But there are we could go around in circles on this one. Um, that's probably why I'm encouraging Sam to come and operate a layout of mine near soon, just to get him into the mood of talking to the public and being nice to people.
You sure that's a good idea?
I spend entire weekends talking to the public.
Hook, line, and sinker on that one.
Yeah, you bit there.
Oh, I'd like to have you back, Sam. Thank you.
So, Morley is what was your favourite exhibition? Do you have a favourite layout? And it doesn't have to be on the exhibition. It can be something you see in a magazine, or it could be a friend's layout that's never been seen by anyone else. What's out there that gives you inspiration?
Well, so I think linking back to the question that we just you just asked me about exhibitions, I think the first big layout I saw was New Annington. Now, New Annington was done by the Model Railway Club, um, which stuck out in my mind again because one of the biggest layouts I saw back in the day, overhead electric, trains running fast. So that one always has stood out as one of my favourites. Obviously, sadly, I don't think it no longer exists anymore. Um, and I think the other one, I know I'm not only allowed to have one, but the other one that actually did stand out was Tonbridge Yard, because it's southern, it's TMD depot full of electro diesels and bits and pieces. So they're the ones that stuck in my mind. Now there are plenty out there now that I will obviously go and look at, but certainly those two were stuck in my mind for many, 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 many years.
I know
So
Tonbridge Yard has certainly come up before with, I think it was Danny who said that Tonbridge Yard was his favourite as well.
yes, it's just an amazing layout. But as I said before, it ticks all the boxes, like stuff that I remember from years ago. Um, you know, and it's been done very, very well. So, um, I'm probably going to get into trouble for not mentioning certain people's layouts, but do I care? No.
Can't mention everything. We haven't got enough time. We just don't have enough time. But yeah, I think your first layout rings a bell. I'm trying to wonder, was it ever in Railway Modeler?
New Annington was Tonbridge Yard. Yeah, I'm sure Tonbridge Yard was in
Tonbridge
Rail
Yard
Modeler.
definitely been Railway
Definitely
Modeler.
must have been
I cut that out.
mid 90s at least.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I've definitely got a copy of Tonbridge Yard in my. I have a folder of inspirational layouts. That's definitely an article that I've cut out and kept. So I know that one I had. But the first one, the name rang a bell when you described it. Sounded very familiar.
Yeah.
So
I think if I want to extend that question slightly, wow factor. This is really going to shock a lot of people listening to this. Um, the other model railway club layout, Copenhagen Fields, it's still being built after 20 odd years. I know it's a steam era layout, but it's just the detail on it is amazing.
yes,
We had it to our show a couple of years ago, and it was a crowd puller. Um, and I didn't appreciate how good it was until I saw it sort of 3 or 4 years ago.
and
Now
that's the
I'm not.
problem, is it? It's being able to see it, because I
Yeah,
don't think I've ever been to an exhibition where it isn't 4 people deep to get near it. I think we managed.
precisely. No,
I
no.
think we managed to get near it once.
Now this is not me admitting I like Steam. For anyone writes in and makes that point, it's the fact that this layout is just so well modelled on that area.
That's
Um,
it, though, isn't it? You don't have to like the subject to appreciate the modelling, I think, and it's what I think. What
mm,
I always find it strange that our model railway magazines always focus on British outline, and they tend to shy away from continental modelling because people go, "Oh, it's continental. I'm not really interested in that." And it's just like, but you can learn so much from European and American modeling, and different techniques and things, and I think it's kind of narrow-minded not to appreciate the modeling just because it's not your subject.
no, indeed, and I would struggle to model in that detail because that's not me. I'm yes, I've been doing sort of train stuff for 25 years, but I'm still fairly new into the model railway world, really, on the modelling side.
Yeah,
Um, and we all learn hopefully from our modelling mistakes, if you can call it that. But then also, I refer people to Rule One of model railways.
but that's it, isn't it? Yeah, it's your layout, and do what you like, isn't it? And but yeah, I think, yeah, it's a bit like Pendon, isn't it? That level of modelling is just insane. But let's face it, that's God knows how many years it's taken to build it to the position it's in, and it's still not finished. But you don't have to like Great Western mainline steam of the 1930s to go there. You can go there as any modeler and look at that, and just be in awe of what can be achieved, and what should inspire you to think what you could do in your layout. You don't have to reach the same levels, but it might influence you to have a go at something you hadn't done before.
Precisely. And as you are very aware, layouts have two categories: scenic and what's the word? Operability, I think is the word.
Yeah,
You see a layout, nothing moving on it, but the scenery is very, very good. It might hold your attention. If the scenery is not quite there, but lots of stuff's moving on it, it might hold your attention. So
yeah,
it's a very fine balance between the two.
yeah. I think you're right. I think yeah, totally agree there. Well, it's we've obviously made lots of jokes about having you on the show and etc. And but it has been a delight to have you on here. But before we go, obviously we will ask our last question in that. What is one resource that you'd recommend to people out there? What is your favorite resource?
I think I think the favorite. I mean, I have two. I think one of my favorite resources. One is eBay because of it's so good to get modeling stuff off eBay. But two actually is social media. Social media and be able to link with people, be able to talk to people, support them through whatever things though. Hard times, mental health times, as you've discussed this in a very good episode last year about mental health. I suspect we all probably do suffer from it in more than one way and not know about it. Um, but certainly, I think the social media, the community interaction, is vital to keep this hobby going. And it's you and Sam are doing a great job by linking people together, and I know your following numbers are increasing in the right direction. So it's what you're doing is it's very very good to keep us all going.
Thank you. Yeah, hopefully we're doing something right. I know, I know we're not everyone's cup of tea, but yeah,
Or coffee.
yeah, this is true, exactly. But yeah, it's what we try to do. We're just trying to have a chat about trains, and we try not to upset model railway companies. But yeah, I think eBay's a good shout. Um, it's not quite what it used to be. I miss the days of 99p listings and people misspelling things and you getting the bargain. But there we are. Times a change. But yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, it's still quite good for getting those little model railway bits. Maybe it's a resurgence because obviously now it's free to list on eBay. We have nothing to do with eBay. We just mention it. But obviously that's maybe a bit more ideal for people to try and if they want to sell their models on to have a look at that because I think the fees got a bit high and put people off at one point. It was I definitely noticed there wasn't as much on eBay as there used to be, but who knows?
I suppose the only downside of eBay is actually it's taking away from the local model shop.
That is one thing, but I've noticed, and I don't know if you're the same, but the second-hand sales online at shows just seems to have gone through the roof in regards to what's available. Um, I've noticed second-hand products through model shops it's become more and more achievable. Um, I don't know. Maybe it's more of the sad fact of life that many of the modelers are older, and they do pass on, and these things do get sold on. I don't know, but I've definitely noticed it over sort of the last 2 or 3 years.
I do think that just touching on the model shop thing, and it's not that we're deliberately going away from them. So the Akira scale class 37s sold for 170, 180 when they were brand new. But
169, I think, to be precise.
let's go with 169. I saw a model shop putting it up online as a pre-owned item, not sound fitted, for 250 quid. Now, you could say that person is just putting up for the value and it's their shop and they can put it to the value they want. That's putting the wrong message out there, though. If brand new, that model, less than a year ago, was nearly.
I think opportunist is a good word there.
Yeah. And I think that's when you have to go, well, there's a reason people go to eBay because if somebody is putting a model up that is less than a year old and putting it up for nearly £100 more than what it was sold for, I can see why people are going to eBay, if I'm being really honest.
Yeah,
That's true. But it can go the other way as well. I recall when the Harry Needle Railroad Curious Scale 37 was released, and I'd missed out on pre-ordering it, so I had a look on eBay just to see what was on there, and it was like the week it come out, and people had deliberately ordered it just to stick it on eBay, and it was there at twice the price. Um, so I think that one can be swings and roundabouts, can't it? As Lyndon says, it's opportunists just seeing what they can get.
Well, if I may, I speak slightly from experience of this one. S Stock Underground. Now it's quite limited and quite specialised. And you technically you can only buy them brand new from the museum in London. But if you now look on eBay, they are going for silly money. And we're talking sort of between £600 and £800 for four coaches, which is ridiculous for what it is. I've got two, but mine are DCC sounds, so that's why I paid a bit more. But it's almost like a very unfair world because people know they can make money make money out of others.
Yeah, it's crazy. Do you know what I think is the most craziest listing I think I've seen in eBay for some time, and it popped up on my Instagram feed under an eBay advert, was the Hornby Thomas and Friends Murdoch. And I'm sure this model has been on eBay for at least 3 years now at this price. It's still sat there They want I think £999, but possibly even they've gone to 1,000, but it was definitely at the £1,000 mark. And I was like, you could buy a Bachmann 9F and pay someone to repaint it for you and probably get a 3D printed face you could put on there for probably half that. It just, yeah,
Well,
it's madness what some people want for some things.
well,
Emperor's
Sam would do
Path
it.
custom painting.
Well, I'd say Sam would do it for 50 quid for you with a cup of coffee. It'd be great.
That's it.
Whoa, not 50. Not 50. Let's just clarify, it's not £50.
Oh,
However,
I thought you were doing January sales, Sam.
no, you can pipe down, all right? I've got a family to feed. If it's not Murdoch, let's fix that.
That's it.
Yes, okay. But no, I don't know. It is a cutthroat world actually. It's going to get worse with model shops. I fear some may go within the next couple of years.
It would be sad to see. And you know, whilst online is very convenient, I personally do try and go to model shops when I can to get bits. But yeah, the difficulty being that they're not so close these days, and it's a bit of a day out just to go pick up a bit of static grass or something. But yeah, I think we all need to support our model shops, even when the temptation of getting it nice and easily off the internet is there. But
Oh yeah, but it's very much so. But also, they then rely on the model shops actually having the stuff in stock. So if they haven't got it in stock, where else you go online?
this is true.
So it's a double-edged sword though.
Very true. Yeah. Yeah, you
Um,
know what? I found myself in that situation, gone to model shop for something and they haven't got it, and you end up buying it online. So yeah,
um,
yeah, I think you raised a good point there.
On
yeah,
that really cheery note, thanks for coming on, Lyndon.
I mean, cheery. No, it's great. I was speaking the truth, aren't I?
No, I know. I was. It was a
Yeah,
joke
yeah.
more about
No,
the
I know, I know.
situation that we're in.
Yes, no. I know, I know. Indeed, it's not easy. Um, are we allowed to do any shout outs on this, by the way?
Oh, don't know. Nobody's ever asked us.
Only the fact that because you know I've been mentioned so many times in dispatches on this podcast that I ought to say mention one or two names who have been on previously and have sort of dropped me either in it or mentioned me in passing to say thank you. Because they're all going to be if that's allowed.
You can do it, then Sam will decide if he's going to keep it in the edit or not. I mean, that's the risk
Oh
you
well,
run.
that's true. But I was going to mention Sam, so if he wants to cut himself out, that's fine. I don't care.
I'm listening.
I thought you might. Yeah, no, Sam is. It is. We as you said before, we do get on very well. You and I. It's great. It is really good to know you and bounce ideas off you. And I know you are very keen to support the local model railway clubs. That's what I'll say on that matter. Then there are people like Max and Zach, of course, who are very keen, trained people in the local area, supportive of what I do, and I do support them. Obviously, going further afield, obviously has to mention Greg up in Beck and West Wickham. He's been a great support over the last couple of years I've known him. Obviously, he and I both do similar things in the on the railway world. And I've probably forgotten lots of people, but they're the ones who really stuck out of mind. I will mention Max from Slough because I'm better get told off if I don't mention him. Starting out in his exhibition debut last year, really. I helped him do a show, and that goes back to the community and the social media side. We all are all here to help each other. We really are, and don't be frightened to ask. Um, people ask me, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? And sometimes you can't tell them because it just happens automatically. But if people want to know how to do things, just ask. Feel free. That's what we're all here for. And yeah, so there you are.
I think that's a very good note to end on there, Lyndon. So all I can say is thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And hopefully you'll stop badgering us now. So we're going to take a short break and come back with our social media shout out. Hello there, dear listener. We thought we'd just take a moment to talk to you about our Patreon. For the last few weeks, Sam has been putting out an advert impersonating David Attenborough, trying to entice you to give us your money. And you were right not to do it. But now we ask you from the bottom of our hearts to follow us on Patreon.
If you do want to support us in what we do, and you believe that what we do is good enough that you want a part of your money, you can find us on Patreon, and you can start donating for as little as $1 a month. It's in dollars, it's in freedom credits, however you want to say it, but eventually it will just take the pounds from your bank account. And if you do want to support James and myself, head on over to Patreon. There's varying levels and tiers that you can do, and there's even a tier where I'll weather stuff for you, and James gets the benefit of it. So why not support us on Patreon today?
Indeed. And that way we can get new microphones so you can stop complaining that you can't hear us. Right then, so that was our chat with Lyndon, and hopefully he will now stop badgering us about coming on the show. Although I did tell him we did have another set of questions, so he probably be wanting to come to answer them. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that interview. We'll move on to the exhibition calendar then to see what is coming up this coming weekend. So if you are in the Southampton area, then have a look out on the 25th and 26th for the Southampton Model Railway Society. Their model railway exhibition is at the Barton Preville College, Chestnut Avenue in Eastleigh of Hampshire. Also on the weekend of the 25th and the 26th is the Kilmarnock and District Model Railway Club in Ivern Model Railway Exhibition. This is at the Lint House building in Scottish Maritime Museum in Ivern, Ayrshire, should I say. I can't pronounce things. I do have dyslexia, so, don't pick on me. Anyway, 25th, 26th, also the Normanton and Pontefract Model Railway Society, and it's their exhibition at the Pontefract Racecourse in the Park Road, Pontefract, West Yorkshire. Same weekend sees the Erith Model Railway Society of the Thamesmead Model Railway Exhibition at Harris Garrard Academy in Yarton Way, Thamesmead. That's near Kent. And then following that is Sunday the 26th, the G-Scout Society of the Kent Group is having a winter indoor meet at the Tenham Village Hall in Bell Friday Close, Tenham, Stingbourne, Kent. That is all the exhibitions for this upcoming weekend. So, Sam, should we move on to our social media shout-outs? I suppose the first thing we need to cover is T-shirt. The T-shirt giveaway we've mentioned.
Yes.
We've done it. We've hit over 1,000 followers on Instagram. But we don't like to count our chickens before our eggs have hatched. And we're just going to leave it a little bit, make sure the numbers don't drop. Because sometimes you get a few OnlyFans followers that don't seem to be that interested in trains at all. Although I haven't looked through the list, I can only see one suspect. So we hopefully should be all right. But we're going to talk more about it next week and how we're going to give the T-shirt away. Is that right?
Yes, we're going to talk about it more. We are aware that we've hit the number. We will be doing it. And as a spoiler, there will be multiple T-shirts. It's not just the one. So there are multiple ways to win, which we will be talking about.
Ooh. Right then. Have you got a social media shout out?
Yes, my social media shout out this week is, once again, it's not a small YouTuber, but I've recently enjoyed watching their videos. Good friends with Tom from Buggles Kelly Station, or I think it's fair to say Tom bullies this YouTuber. Laurie's Mechanical Marvels. If you've not seen Laurie's channel before, he did a mini series with his friends where they all built a section of a modular railway. And it was absolutely bonkers, the series. If you watch the series from beginning to end, you'll have watched it. And I thought what was one of the most interesting and scary parts of it is that you saw how every single person who was part of this had taken a different approach to modeling. Laurie, I think at one point I screamed at the telly because of how Laurie was doing certain things, but you know what? By the end, it actually looked really good. But I was like, you shouldn't be doing it like that. Laurie also has the standard gauge, real life gauge model railway as well. But it's quite an interesting channel to watch because there's a mix of very different things. So that's Laurie's Mechanical Marvels.
I do like Laurie. I met him last year, actually. A very nice chap to talk to. So, yeah, it's a very good shout out. And, yeah, as you say, it was a very roller coaster ride of layout building. Right, mine then is Dillington Model Railway. And this is continuing with the theme as when we were talking about Hornby and encouraging younger people into the hobby. This is a granddad and grandson collaboration where they've been building a layout together. We've got all sorts in there, including a 009 build, so that fits in with our continuing theme. Only 468 subscribers, so go have a look at it, and let's encourage people to come into this hobby. So that's mine. It's a Dillington Model Railway. I think that ties us up for this show then, Sam. So the only things left to do is I don't know why we keep telling people how to find us, because they should know by now. But if they want to talk to you, send you free stuff.
You're not letting that one go, are you?
No.
If you want to get hold of me, tell me I'm a good Southern boy, or send me free stuff. You can get hold of me on Instagram at emperors_path. Alternatively, you can get hold of me on YouTube at Emperor's Path. James, how can we get hold of you?
I'm still Western Signalman on YouTube, Instagram. Don't bother the email. I still can't get into it. And yeah, that's how to get hold of me. But if you want to get hold of the Model Rail Replacement Podcast, then you can email us on modelrailrp, that's Romeo Papa, at outlook.com. And obviously we are on Instagram with over 1,000 followers now. So go and, get in with the in crowd and join us there. Apart from that, all I can say is that hopefully we've been entertaining, informative. Apologies for how long this episode has been. And we'll be back next week. So thanks for listening. I forgot to say, place your model railway for a little bit. I muddled that one up. I'm not doing it again.
This service terminates here. Please ensure you take all of your personal belongings with you.